Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Dr. Rhonda M. Lawson, and I am here on Juneteenth. And I have a very, very special episode. Now, as you know, and I said this a couple weeks ago, I don't normally do shows on the holidays. I normally take those days off, but today was a very special day. And for a very special reason, I needed to do this show today. And you will understand why in a minute. But today I'm going to be interviewing a man who spent 28 years in Angola, one of the most notorious prisons in the United States, for a crime that he did not commit. And when you hear the story, you're going to be astounded. But when you meet the man, you're going to be amazed. So without any further ado, I want to first wish you all a very happy Juneteenth. I hope that after the show, you will get out and enjoy the many celebrations that we have going on around the country. But first, please sit down and listen to this amazing story. So I would like to introduce you to Mr. Dwayne Leblanc. Hello.
Hey, how y'all doing? Thank everyone for tuning in. My name is Dwayne Leblanc, and this is my first time having the opportunity to tell my story. So I thank Ms. Rhonda for having me. And I thank everyone from coming in, from my family, from my friends, from all around the world.
Well, thank you first of all for trusting me to be the one to tell your story. We'd never met each other before this time, and you had actually reached out to me and told me what you were trying to do, and I just wanted to be able to support you.
Thank you.
So I think we should just jump right in because there's so much to unpack. Just listening to your story, my head was spinning. So I want to kind of ease our audience in on this a little slowly. You're from New Orleans, my
Yes.
hometown. In fact, we're from the same neighborhood. We're from the Lower Ninth Ward. A lot of people don't know that I'm from the Lower Ninth Ward, but yes, I
Wow.
am from the Lower Ninth Ward. I grew up on Caffin Avenue. Unfortunately, my house is not there anymore. The house that
Yeah.
I grew up in was washed away with Hurricane Katrina. And instead of rebuilding a home there, they actually put kind of a sanctuary there where people can kind of sit and reflect. And at first, I felt a little way about that, but I'm kind of glad they did. You know,
Yeah.
and it kind of feels good that we were the last family to live in that spot.
Hmm.
So New Orleans is always going to have a special place to me. And the Lower Ninth Ward is always going to have a special place in my heart. So when you contacted me from New Orleans and told me
Right.
you're from Lower Ninth Ward, that made me even more excited to support you. So can
Well,
you talk a little bit about growing up in the Lower Ninth Ward, growing up in New Orleans?
all right. First of all, my family, we migrated from the housing area of Florida housing area, and that was in 1976 where I was born. My 29, his name Dwight is Dwayne Dwight, and my mom, she had 7 kids, 5 boys, 2 girls. And growing up in the growing up in a housing area of Florida, it was very, I would say, very dangerous because I remember when I was maybe me and my twin, probably like 8 years old, was going to school, walking, sometimes busing, and there would be dead bodies on the sidewalk. We would
Hmm.
see that. We would see guys in the neighborhood selling a lot of drugs. Sometimes it would be shootouts. We'd be in the middle of a shootout, and we'd have to run either home or run towards school. It would be violence in the hallways, project hallways. We would see people stabbed up, people shot up. We would see police officers coming with the ambulance, getting bodies out of people's homes. One day, I was probably like 6 years old. I seen someone get stabbed up, looking out the window, and I never had a chance to tell anyone that, until recently.
So
And
you actually were a child and you looked out, you were just looking out the window and you saw this happen?
I seen that happen. Right.
That's scary.
I seen the guy rain the guy down, running behind him with a big old knife, and the guy tripped, fell on his stomach, and the guy just started stabbing him repeatedly. Um, it was common to see things like that.
Well,
Uh,
before you go
so
on, I just want to I want to clarify for people who are not from New Orleans. When you say Florida, you're not talking about the state of Florida. You're talking about the
No,
Florida housing
the
project.
housing. Yes, it's
Right. And
located.
yeah, we
Mhm.
used to pass the Florida housing projects on our way to Caffin Avenue.
Right, right. So my mom moved out of the Florida housing project in 1986. I was 10 years old, me and my twin, and we moved in the Lower Ninth Ward area where you're from as well. And growing up there, it was kind of faster. I would see the same violence, people getting killed. You hear about people getting killed, a lot of young people. At that time, it was like the awakening of the crack epidemic. So when me and my twin and I would be going to the corner stores, we would see like hundreds of young black men standing on the corner selling drugs, and we'll be hearing stories. We will see constantly a roundup of police officers coming, jumping, call them jump out boys,
Mm,
incarcerating black men, talking to black men. It will be a lot of friends that we knew, we grew up with. I would see them being victim to the drug culture. But we had at that time we had a close knit family. My mom side was very very close. We would all go to the same home every year for holidays, celebrations. Um, so I would say, in spite of all the drama around me, all the hardship, all the scares, we majority of my family is from the Lower Ninth Ward. My father's side as well as my mother's side. So I was always just visit everyone, and and that was a high tide of my life. Visit my aunties, my uncles, my cousins. So I felt loved by them, but it just coming up like that, you cannot trust anyone outside of your family
right.
because of the potential violence.
Now I do want to ask, we're talking about growing up. When I grew up in the Lower Ninth Ward, I have to admit I didn't know it was a dangerous neighborhood until they told me, because it's everyday life. We didn't think
Right,
about it being the roughest neighborhood at the time.
right.
How but I think you may have had a different experience than I had, because I've never looked out my window and seen something like that.
Mm.
So, did you really understand how dangerous the neighborhood was when you were a child?
Yes, but it never came, like no one never attempt me, try to harm me, but it was always around me. I would hear people talk a lot about danger. They was always warn us, don't go certain places, don't do that. But it was so ironic that in the daytime we rarely seen violence, but it would happen occasionally. And
Hmm.
so a lot of times we will play in the daytime. At night we'll be inside. And it will happen on school days. It will happen Monday through Friday. On a weekend, a lot of time, we're not getting up that early. But
Right.
on the weekdays, we walking to school and we seeing this sense of violence, and I couldn't understand it. My twin, we would talk about it, but we was children. We didn't know how to dissect it and understand truly what we was facing with, the type of danger. But it was all around us, and like I say, my parents, they'll reinforce the encouragement, tell us not to get caught up in that stuff. Don't go certain places. Watch ourselves. My twin and I will hold each other hand, and that felt it. That was a great way of supporting one another throughout the ordeal.
So, as you grew up, did um that guidance that your parents were giving you about, staying away from that trouble, trying to stay away from that life, um did that stay within your mind as you were getting older?
Yes. Uh, when I got older, now you know more. Your information about the street, your information about danger is more mature. So I knew that if I said the wrong thing, I would be killed.
Mm,
If I did the wrong thing, I would be killed. And that stuck with me. I had to watch what I say and watch what I do at all times. It's almost like playing chess.
right.
One wrong move, you can get killed. because all of my friends, and I like to add, all of my friends are now deceased. Like 98% of them, they're dead. And now I get a chance to see their kids and their grandkids grow up. And sometimes
Yeah.
I tell them stories about their father. But most of my friends have died before the age of 21. And I remember my twin and I, we wrote a T-shirt. We wrote names on a T-shirt, and we filled the whole T-shirt up. We filled the whole T-shirt up with names on the front and on the back of deceased friends and associates from all over the city, but mainly in the Lower Nineveh area. And we ran out of space. True story. We ran out of space on a T-shirt of deceased friends, of memories
Oh,
that we
wow.
had, and we no longer took part of that. That happened when we was probably like in elementary, like 10 years old, 11 years old.
What
Yeah,
does
I'll
it
never
do
forget that.
to a person's psyche to, you're having a T-shirt with the names on it, and then you run out of space?
Right,
Or just to know that now, as you think about people you grew up with, many of them are gone
right,
before they were even 21 years old.
right. That was the
What does
norm
that
in New
do to your
Orleans.
mind?
I thought I was next, because you're constantly hearing gunshots. You're constantly hearing and seeing your friends disappear. So it'll be so easy as walking down the street, one of your friends, don't know what they're doing all the time, and you can get killed that way. You can get killed for mistaken identity, in that area during the era, and even today. You can get killed by just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was that much violence. So violence was, I remember looking north, south, east, and west. Violence was in the Lower Ninth Ward area around us like a circle,
Yes.
because you had major drug laws everywhere you turn. And I used to name them, and because you hear they names so much. And you will constantly see the violence and hear the potential of violence everywhere. And it was just so sad coming up like that. It's so scary. But I tried when I was a younger man. I was more less of entrepreneur. I used to sell fish, go fishing, sell fish, pump gas. I used to wipe windshield wipers, uh, hustle that way to cut grass, um, the crab. I had many different ways of staying out of trouble, and it's just that trouble was easy to get into. And that's why so many of my friends they made the wrong choices, and a lot of them died. Some of them was in a penitentiary. We used to think that when we stopped seeing each other, stopped seeing my friends, or stopped seeing associates, I used to assume that they was dead. But
Wow.
when I got arrested, falsely arrested, and went to prison, I would see them and be shocked. I'm like, man, I thought you was, you know, thought he was dead.
So he
And
was in prison, but
he
you
was in
hadn't
prison
seen
for
him, and you
20,
just assumed he
20
was
something.
dead.
Yes, 20 something years. Because when people disappear, you assume that they was deceased in New Orleans. It's a
Wow.
common thing. Yes.
That does do something to your psyche.
Oh yeah. You have to be strong, very strong, and you have to carry that in school. So it was a burden to carry all that stuff, and not having anyone to really talk to. Your parents, they just gonna like, hey, you can't do this, you can't hang there, but they couldn't help. They couldn't protect us away from home, and I don't remember seeing any help at school. Someone you could talk to, even in the neighborhoods, it was no one you could talk to during that time.
So, let's talk about. You mentioned earlier that you tried to stay out of trouble, but sometimes or stay at the wrong place at the wrong time, so to speak. Talk about the day that just didn't go well for you. That
Um,
that that day when you were accused of something that you didn't do.
yeah, I was in California, and I went there with my older brother, uh, Leonard LeBlanc, with his family and his kids, and we relocated. And I wanted to go to school. I wanted to live with him. I wanted to get away from New Orleans. At this time, my brother, my identical twin brother, he was incarcerated. So he came and got me from New Orleans. He was living in Long Beach, and we commuted there by car. And when we got there, you know, immediately I enrolled in school. I wanted to go to some type of trade school. And when I entered the school, I remember my counselor, Miss Annie Stafford. She took a liking to me because of my accent, and then I'm a new kid on the block. Yeah,
Everybody loves the New Orleans accent.
right. So her and I got real close. We got so close that she used to pick me up from my home from Long Beach. It was like maybe 10 minutes commute from the school. A lot of time I was catching the bus, and she'll pick me up, bring me to school often. And I remember maybe like 2 months of being in Long Beach, I heard a loud knock, like someone trying to kick the door down. I was upstairs. I looked out the window. Soon I looked out the window, it was a gun in my face. Like it was far as the eyes could see, police officers from all kind of departments. Looked like the FBI, DEA, Long Beach Police Department. Even had they called it a bird, dirty bird, helicopter in the
Yeah.
air. And I jumped back. I'm like, wow. And I could hear them trying to get in the home downstairs. So my brother woke up. He went downstairs and opened the door. And that's when the police officers came and arrested me. And I'm constantly asking why. You know, they wasn't doing no talking. So they rushed me downstairs, walked me a whole block, and put me. That's how many police cars out there. They walked me to an entire block, put me in a police car, and brought me to downtown LA, which is a prison, like a detention or something. And they said I was being charged with a murder and a attempt murder, but they never went in depth. I had to see the judge. So when I got to the arraignment, my lawyer in California, in Long Beach. I was in LA. My lawyer in LA, he was like, man, you're being accused of murder and timber. And I told him I'm in school. I kept telling him I was up here, things like that. And he was like, you got to take that up with New Orleans. So I couldn't wait to get back to New Orleans. So probably like a week or less, they transferred me to New Orleans. And at this time, I don't know anything about the Lynn Davis case. This happened prior to me getting arrested. So I don't know anything about the Lynn Davis case. Don't know anything about the twins being arrested. The other set of twins, Nathan and Nathaniel, twin Norwood. I don't know anything about Miss Kim Grove being murdered. All right, prior to all this happening to me, in 1994. So.
Oh, they actually went to find you in California.
Yes, because there was an investigation about the twins being the wanted suspect of a murder. So they went into all the twins' information and backgrounds in the lower ninth ward, and they came up with two sets of twins. But the problem is, it was two sets of twins that both looked identical. They're like quadruplets. So it was playing a process elimination.
That's right here.
Yes, that's just at the bottom of the red on. That's Nathan and Nathaniel, twin Norwood, and that's me at the top. All right. So they were playing a process elimination. They went after the Norwood twins 3 times, beating them and accusing them on a murder and attempt murder that I've been falsely accused of. And then they came after me. My twin was incarcerated at the time. So it got me out of California, brought me to New Orleans. And I didn't know anything. I'm oblivious to anything in regards to Kim Grove's death, the twins' arrest, accusation of them being accused on a charge that I was falsely accused of. And I didn't know anything about Lynn Davis, the police officer Lynn Davis, murdering and for hire Kim Grove.
How is it that you were in an entirely different state across the country, and you would be the one who would be accused of something like this?
Because the link was the twin. One of the alleged eyewitness was a drug user, a female from the lower ninth ward area. Because the crime happened on Tupelo and Villeray, and she lived nearby. And she reported to the police that all I knew his name was Twin, and gave a description that fit everyone, fit all 4 of us. And then from there, the police all started investigating the twins, and they came up with anonymous caller say that his name was Dwayne Twin LeBlanc. And when they got a name, that's when they started looking for me in the lower Nightmare area. And they kept running into the Norwood twins. They ran into the twins 3 times. And they told the twin the first time, both of the twins, Nate and Twin Norwood, they say, look, y'all need to go inside because y'all compromising our investigation. Y'all confusing us. And their arrest happened in the same vicinity of where the crime reported on Tupelo and Village, because the Norwood twins live 2 blocks away from the crime scene. My mother lived 4 or 5 blocks away from the crime scene. So they would get stopped by Lynn Davis, and then he questioned them. He let them go. Second time they got stopped. This time he accused them. He was like, y'all must be the twins that actually committed the murder. Y'all don't want to go inside. He let them go again with threats. He was always threatening people, bullying, rookie cop. He was always using his badge to commit other criminal acts. So the third time they stopped the twins on Tupelo and Claiborne, which is 2 blocks away from the crime scene. And they accused him of the murder, timber that I went falsely accused of. And he kept telling them, since y'all don't want to go inside, y'all must be the twins that committed the act. And he went to commissioner beating them. And that's when Miss Kim Grove come on the scene and challenged the officers to stop beating the twins, the young man, Nathan Norwood. And the police officer let the twins go. So Miss Kim Grove, the twins, went home and reported to the twins' mother. And from there, they called a police officer, Turner Affairs Department. They get to the hospital. Twins being band-aided for the. I think one of them had a broken nose, lacerated on their nose from the butt of the gun from the officer harassment. And when the police officers come out and Turner Affairs Department, they put 2 pictures before the twin because he was the victim of this police brutality. But the twins didn't say anything. They shut their mouth. They stayed silent. But Miss Kim Grove printed out the pictures. And when she printed out the officers, less than 24 hours later, she get killed by Lynn Davis hiring a hitman, Paul Hardy, to kill Miss Kim Grove, the silencer.
The painting the story that you're painting right now, you're mentioning a lot of names. You're mentioning a very well-known case in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Are you worried about mentioning all of these people right now?
No, because I've been holding this truth for over 30 years. I talked to Kim Grove family about it, but they've been through a lot, and they don't wish to move forward with me to connect these dots and to show these truths, because I have all the paperwork. I have files, like, for example, I have this entire file full of evidence from the Turner Affairs Department pertaining to everything I'm telling you about. I'm sharing with the world. I have documents, proof. I have sealed documents from the courts, from Lynn Davis' trial. I have photos. And my name was mentioned, for example, 8 times at Lynn Davis' trial. I didn't know this. I'm sitting in a state court. Lynn Davis in a federal court. He in a federal court in 1996. And my name was mentioned 8 times. And I'm oblivious to it in a state court. So he get found guilty in 1996. I started my trial in 1997, less than a year later. And I noticed in 1996, when Lynn Davis was going to trial, the whole entire police force, mainly, was in support of Lynn Davis, falsely accusing Ms. Kim Grove, husband or boyfriend, of murdering her. So they try to shift the weight to an innocent man, just so Lynn Davis can possibly walk. If you remember the case. So when he get found guilty, I go to trial in 97. Again, I don't know anything about Lynn Davis. Mentioned my name 8 times in his trial. I don't know anything about the twins, the Norwood twins. I don't know anything about Miss Kim Grove death directly. I was hearing it from other people and watching it on the news, but I couldn't make the connection with my case. So I go to trial. They had people who was using drugs as alleged eyewitnesses. There was no physical evidence. There was no cameras. There was no DNA linking me to any case. So I asked my lawyer during pre-trial and trial. I asked him to get my alibi information, school Tennessee record from Long Beach. He kept assuring me. He kept saying things like, I promise you I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna send my private investigator to California to retrieve your information. And that's it on the screen. And this alibi, the school Tennessee record, it states and shows that the time and date that I went into school on the 22nd of July. And then, excuse me, for August the 22nd. And then the charge happened on August the 27th. That was a weekend. So the weekend I didn't have school. I didn't have school that Saturday, that Sunday. So that Friday I was in school. And that Monday I was also in school. All right. So it was impossible for me to travel by a vehicle to come to New Orleans, commit a murder, and then turn back around and go to school.
Right.
And the DA did extensive background investigation about, they looked into the airports and see if Dwayne Leblanc had traveled by airplane, and they couldn't find anything. So it was impossible for me to travel to New Orleans and within one day to commit a murder and then come back on a Monday and enroll in school.
Well, with that
So,
type of proof that you weren't there, how in the world could they have found you guilty?
all right, my lawyer, Mr. Jack Dolan, is a public offender lawyer. So when I kept asking him to help me to find, I was 18 years old. I didn't know anything about the law, and I trusted my attorney. I felt like it was an open and shut case. It's that simple. Thinking about my alibi, thinking about my teachers, thinking about the students, the classmates, and the principal. But he failed me. He did not send his private investigator. He never retrieved the documents to prove my innocence. So when I get found guilty on a 10-2 non-unanimous jury, which is illegal. At the time, it was illegal in the state of Louisiana and I think Oregon. And now they passed a law, was recently, like 2 years ago, stating that no one could get found guilty with a non-unanimous jury. They need all 12 people, all 12 jurors. So going to trial, it was much easier for the state of Louisiana to find someone guilty under that non-unanimous system. So my lawyer never retrieved the documents. And right after my trial, I like to add this. Right after I got found guilty, I moved on to the circuit court. Now I'm on direct appeal. And the state gave me a lawyer, the judge. He assigned another lawyer to me, public defender. And his name was Jack Dolan. His name was Dwight Dawski. Jack Dolan was my trial attorney. Dwight Dawski came to represent me. And I like to highlight who Dwight Dawski is. Prior to me going to trial, Dwight Dawski was the attorney for Lynn Davis' trial. So in the conspiracy, they played both cases. One with Lynn Davis, they tried to help him to beat the charge. Police department, all kind of other agencies. And then they gave me intentionally, to further the conspiracy, they gave me Dwight Dawski, Lynn Davis' trial attorney. He did not tell me anything about my name being brought up prior, a few months earlier, at Lynn Davis' trial 8 times. He did not tell me that there was another set of twins that was accused of murder and they got harassed behind the same charge in which I was found guilty of. Right? He didn't tell me that Miss Kim Grove had got murdered by the behest of Lynn Davis, and the connection with my case. He hid everything. It was a conflict of interest. So he filed 2 assignment errors in the higher court, the circuit court, straight dismiss, hurry up, dismiss my charges. I mean my claims. So I was denied, and then I was sent to Angola. But looking back at all of this, there is a conspiracy, and I just want to share with the world how the government has conspired to keep me silent. No one wanted to help me. It was no government officials from the state, DA's office, lawyers. Everyone went silent on me. And that's why I'm here telling my story.
So now, so you're found guilty,
Mm-hmm.
and you're sent to Angola, but this entire time you maintain your innocence.
Right.
So let's talk. Before we start to talk about your campaign to get freed from Angola and to come back home, what was life like in Angola? Because for people who may not know, I said at the beginning of the show that Angola is one of the most notorious prisons in the entire country. And if you know the history of Angola, it was actually meant to be a slave plantation.
Right.
And then when slavery was abolished, this land was still there. They wound up making it a prison. And now today there are actually more black men. The prison is actually, I believe, about 75% black. And there are actually more black men in Angola in prison now than there ever would have been had this been a slave plantation.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to start by adding and speaking about my ordeal and my survival in a local jail, because it all connects. If a young man come to prison and he's housed in a local jail, like in New Orleans, they call it OPP, Orleans Parish Prison, and he cannot sustain himself, his manhood, and be strong among his peers, he cannot make it to Angola, because his background, his character travels, his reputation travels before him. So I had to stand up in a local jail, and a local jail is, to me, is on par with the violence of Angola when I got up there. And it was just in a box. You couldn't run. You had to deal with it. And there are people carrying knives. There was gangs. What I mean by gangs, the wards, uptown, downtown, around.
Right.
So I had to survive that first.
And just to give people context, because we know that not everybody watching is from New Orleans. Orleans Parish Prison is right in the middle of the city.
Yes.
People who are in prison in OPP can actually look out the window and see people walking on the street.
Yes. So I'll never forget this. I was 18 years old, and I first walked into the prison. The door shut. There's an iron steel door, thick. And I looked back. It was just me and the guys on the tip. And the tip was kind of dark, the living quarters. And it was separated by looked like chicken wire, we call it, but it was iron from another tier. So it had A, B, B side, A and B side. Some guys I knew, most guys I didn't. But I remember every day at a certain time, we was all fighting. We get in a circle and just fight. It was bored, young black men, misguided, didn't have no knowledge. They wasn't bringing any type of educational programs to us. All we know is survive, and it was brutal. So our reputation started from there. So by the time I made it to Angola, it was already set. My reputation was set. I didn't have any problems. Number one, because of that. Number two,
so you can fight, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it just it was the fact that I held my ground and I didn't back down, wouldn't lose a drop. In prison, you cannot show any fear.
Right.
You show fears like sharks in the water with its prey. So when I hit the Angola, when I got to Angola, my reputation was set, but I still had to prove myself. You don't let anyone disrespect you, disrespect your manhood. You don't let anyone demean you. Uh, you don't let anyone make you out to be weak because you will not survive Angola. Any type of weakness you show, you would get killed or you become exploited. So when I first went to Angola, it was two people died, uh, 2 days straight. Two men got stabbed up. One got stabbed in the shower. One got beat with a brick with a in a pillowcase. Soon I stepped off uh, the bus. So I would talk to guys who've been there a while. It was like, man, it's not really like that. I'm like, man, you heard what happened in this camp just yesterday? They would laugh at me. But it really wasn't as violent like the 1960s.
Okay.
The violence came in when a young guy just come up there and he want to indulge with the foolishness. In other words, you want to get into the drug culture or you want to get with the homosexual. And that bring problems. But if someone who had their mind straight, their character, their moral self together, who was determined to go home like myself, it was no problem because it was a respect level. Guys seen what I was doing. I was always fighting um, for better treatment in Angola. I was always fighting for freedom. I always fighting for on behalf of other people freedom that was around me, my peers. So I was always serious about trying my best to get home, and that kind of like set a tone around everyone who I live with, who I live around. So I didn't have any problems, but I would see a lot of problems around me, and my fate allowed me, and my humanity allowed me to step in a lot of time to save lives, save guys from being raped, save guys from being killed, save women who was working in the prison because the prison is predominantly men, and you have females working in a dormitory of like 100, and sometimes periodically, guy would go against the and try to harass the female, and I'll step up and I'll just ask them to cool down and and leave the sister alone. So I did that my whole entire incarceration, helping other people, protecting other people.
So this is you when you were in prison, correct?
Yeah, I was about 21 years old on that picture. Became a Muslim, and my whole life changed. My perspective on life. It saved my life as well because when I didn't really have no one to talk to because most guys was into living a precarious life. It was living a very dangerous life while incarcerated. I started reading a lot. Started reading 3 books at one time every day, um, and my mind became more open, more wider. Started reading information about the world, 4 corners of the globe, and I remember studying my faith and looking into the Arabic language, Quranic Arabic language. And the more I delved into the Quranic Arabic language, the more I seen my soul. The more I wanted to work on myself, and it's hard to explain because it's divine revelation and it's information from God that He's given me direction how to stay strong in the midst of all of this chaos. Uh, how to motivate myself. God was motivating me. So it was allowing me to be kinder because God said He loved those who are kinder. So I got more kinder, uh, more compassion. So I took all of that what I learned from God and just displayed it through my character everywhere I went. So I went to like helping young black boys or anyone for that matter who needed my support that was around me. And like I said, by the thousands, I see people from being molested, from being
Wow.
killed in prison, even security. Yeah.
Well, and throughout this time, while you're helping other people, you're still helping yourself
Yes.
because throughout this in 28 years that you were in Angola, you
Hmm.
were doing basically a letter writing campaign,
Yes.
maintaining your innocence and trying to get people to help you. Your family would come to visit you. Here's a picture right here of
My
your
father.
dad coming to visit and your brother,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
here's one of your mom.
Yeah. So I know I had to reach out to people. That was before like the internet wasn't too major, too big in society. The phones were just coming out. So I was writing letters by hand. I wrote over 2,000 letters around the world. I would write to like presidents. I would write to governors around the world, United States. I would write to senators. I would write to celebrities. I would write a ton of editors, news reporters. So I remember setting out writing these letters, and it's like putting a letter on a bird, a carrier bird, or a messenger bird, where you send them out, and then you wait for them to come back. So I remember it took like a month for these letters to start returning back to me, and it was so many letters of denials. Every time I opened
Mm.
up, it was either they didn't have enough support, financial support, or just flat out they couldn't help me. And I remember writing to New Orleans Innocent Project, and I always felt like no one in New Orleans was going to help me. In regards to the government organizations, because the nature of my case, people was afraid of my case, and also the so many powers that be was connected to this case. It's a conspiracy. We talking about the Lynn Davis case. We talking about the murder of Miss Kim Grove. No one wanted to touch that. And I'm coming with new facts. I'm coming with new truths. I'm coming with all of this information to prove my innocence that the government hid deliberately. So I never felt like New Orleans was gonna help me. So I got a denial from them, Innocent Project. And I remember a best friend of mine, he's still in prison, named Ronnie Kuzan. And that's a special thanks to that brother. Another prisoner serving life sentence. He's dying in prison with cancer, my best friend.
Mm.
And we sitting there doing legal work. And this brother sacrificed his own case to help me because he believed in my innocence. And he gave me a address and a name. It says Centurion Ministries. And I just thought it was like a church. And I wrote to tons of churches. And it was never a response, a favorable response. So I looked at him, gave him a look like, I don't want to go there. You know, I've been there already. So he's like, no, bro, it's not what you think. These are some fighters. But I found out afterwards that Centurion was the first innocent project of in America. I
Mm.
think they started in the 60s. And even though they have like a Christian name, uh, they are some fighters. They very determined people. Um, so I wrote them, and they sent me an application. And then I filled out the application, and then down the line, maybe like 3 months, the CEO came to visit me, named Mr. McCloskey. When he came to visit me, he personally told me that they accepted my case.
Wow.
And I thank God for all of them at CM. I can't name them all. Miss James, one of McBunch, Mr. Tyler, Miss Corey, Miss Kate, uh, and a host of other ones. Miss Pam, my lawyer. They spent over 200,000 in a 10-year span reinvestigate my case. And they once told me this. They say, Dwayne, we're gonna take your case and rebuild it. And I'm like, what you mean? They say, imagine you buy a land and you own that land. We're gonna take your case from the land. We're gonna pour the concrete and reinvestigate your case coming all the way up like a home. I'm like,
Wow.
wow, I never had that. Really needed that. So it took them like 10 years because Katrina brought my whole community, our whole community across the nation. So they had to run and catch witnesses from like 11 states, literally. And it cost money. And they got on a whatever it took, whatever means of transportation, airplanes, trains, buses, cars, and they were always going out seeking. And one day, uh, they told me, they said, Dwayne, we never seen a case like this before. You talking about two sets of twins that's unrelated, and
Right.
both y'all look like quadruples. Both of y'all, both sets are identical. And they also say that every time they look for evidence in my case, it always came back favorable. You know, they say usually we'll find something in the case where evidence becomes suspect against our client, but in your case, they say every time we found evidence, we it always came back in your favor, meaning that you're an innocent person. You're actually innocent, factually innocent. Yeah, I thanked them like 100 times. I cried with them on visit. They would visit. They would send me
I can
money.
imagine that.
Yeah. Um. So my fate allowed me when they got on my case. I just felt like I was going home. I just didn't know when. So I started downsizing and started giving away stuff. And God was looking at me strange, like, man, you tripping. I'm like, I'm not.
You just knew
Because
you
I
were
know,
going.
yeah, I knew that if someone would really listen to me and see the facts that I have, all the evidence I have, because it's undeniable information, I have a shot, I have a chance. I never had a chance to tell my story. This is the first time I told it through the Innocent Project. They told my story. But this is the first time I'm sitting before the audience of the world audience, have a chance to tell what happened to me and how it happened to me. So this is a blessing. I thank God for you and give me a chance to be heard.
I'm glad that you trusted me to tell your story, so I appreciate that. I want
Mm.
to talk about when you finally find out that you will be going home.
Um,
What was that day like, and what went through your mind?
um, I was told by um, I was told by my lawyers that the DA wanted to talk, and when he said that, I knew that they wasn't going to set me free um, without some type of plea. Because what I learned by studying law and helping other people on their cases, the hardest case to help and to get released is an actual innocent case because it's so political. You know, when a guys can prove they innocence come home, that means a negative publicity against the state as potential money.
Hmm.
Political office seat holders may become unseated. I see all that every case, every innocent case, it happens. Um, so I knew by my case being so powerful and so many moving parts and so many things that I can prove that I wasn't going home without a deal. So the deal was offered to me that if I plead guilty, I will go home. And I'm like, no, I'm not guilty. I'm not taking the deal. And then they asked me about the DA's office asked me about why haven't I filed for clemency after all these years? I'm like, because when someone filed for clemency, a prisoner filed for clemency, they have to admit guilt. I say I'm not guilty. So in 20 years, I never filed for clemency. Um, and then they say that we don't know. Just to apply a threat from the DA's office, they say they don't know when the next time they'll be able to reinvestigate my case. And I say, all due respect, they never did. It was the Innocent Project that went all over the United States and reinvestigated my case, and we dumped all the evidence, thousands of pieces of evidence of paperwork to the DA's office. And you know, so from that meeting, my lawyer, he said, man, I need to talk to you. He said, Dwayne, remember when we filed over 1,000 writ 1,000-piece writ to the trial court on your
Mm-hmm.
behalf? I'm like, oh yes. He said, remember we got denied. I said, yes. He said, remember the rebuttal from the state, how many pages there was? I said, yes, there was like 10 sheets. You're like, man, I don't know what's going on in the state of Louisiana, but we
Hmm.
filed volumes, over 1,000 pieces of paper proving your innocence, with your alibi, with your school Tennessee record, with all the alibis from your school teacher, your principal, your the lady who's come pick you up from school, bring you to school, Miss Anna Staff, all these different people, your neighborhood, your family, friends, all attesting to your innocence and the fact that you was in California, and we still got denied. He said your mom is dying. At this time, we closing out. It's coming. It's 28 years in my incarceration. My mom, I was hearing that she was falling on the ground. She would try to walk to the store, and she didn't have anyone around her. No family members. All my brothers was gone, different states, and I'm working in a prison, in the infirmary, in the medical department. I'm doing patient care work, hospice. People dying in my hand, like my friends, after 28, 30 years. It was, well, I found them there. So I did 28. It was a lot of guys was like 40 years and 35 years. And it was older men dying. And it kept reminding me of myself dying in the same situation. And I learned how to do bedside care and help people that's going through terminal ills, and never allow them to die alone. These were my peers and my friends. And the lawyer said, I cannot tell you what to do. You have to make your choice. So I had all that weighted on top of me. The fact that the days off refused to help me. The fact that my mom was dying and she never seen me in 20 years. I took a, what you call a no contest plea. It allowed me to come home. My case remained open. So, whenever I get a chance to hire a lawyer, get the money to hire a lawyer, I can get my case open and hopefully get full exoneration. So I come home, protect my mom. I'm living with her. Excuse me. Yeah, I come home and I'm living with my mom. I'm protecting my mom. One day I come from work. I had work sitting, basically doing the same work I did in prison. I wasn't making that much. They was only giving me 4 hours a day. And I come home, and the first thing I see when I open the door, I always call my mom's name. I say, Mom. And she said, I'm on the floor. So I went, opened the door to her room, and I got her off the floor. You know, I don't know how long she was there. She couldn't remember. And from there, she died.
Mm-mm. I can't imagine that.
She held on for 20 years.
At
She
least you
held,
got to be with her.
yeah, she held on for 20 years. And I know she held on. She always tell me she gonna hold on until I come on. I had a chance to be free with her and take her different places. I bring her different places, like celebrate. But I know she was at a stage by working in the hospital, working in the hospice. I can tell. I can tell the time when it was time. So I was preparing myself and just being away from her. She ain't must know me no more. I'm a grown man now. My mind, I learned so much, read so much, matured. She really didn't know me. She was getting to know me all over again. So I'm just still trying to get my life together. I've been gone so long. Nobody trusts you in the workforce. The work history is a stop. It's a gap.
Yeah, that's
There's
something we've had these conversations before where People have served their time in prison and they're released and they're expected to be functioning citizens
Right.
in their communities. They're expected to go find a job and not return to crime. Yet
Right.
when they get out, they can't find a job because as soon as that employer finds out that they've been in prison,
Prison. They get
they're
screwed.
either fired
Right.
or they'll say,
Laid
"Oh,
up.
I'm sorry, the position's been filled," and they don't give them
Right.
the job. So then they wind up having to be out on their own, which is
Right.
what contributes to the recidivism rate, which is
Right.
why so many people return to prison. I remember when I was young, I talked to a guy who said that it was easier to go back to prison. At
Right.
least he'd be able to eat every day. At least he'd have a place to sleep because he couldn't find a job.
Right.
And this is basically what you were going through.
Right. That's reality. I face with that every day. If I have an Indeed app, Lincoln app, all kind of apps, and I would remember knocking on doors. They don't do that anymore. They say I have to go online and do it, fill out applications, and they ask you if you've been incarcerated, and then they don't ask you on the application. I have the interview, and then that's when the questions pop up, and that's when the red flag. So when I was trying to get home, like I was homeless a few times. When I try to get rental properties, try to rent out a home or apartment, I would get the walkthrough with the realtor, but they wanted the background check. So I never got the opportunity to rent an apartment because of my background check, because of the past. It still haunts me to this day. And all I did, my legacy is incarcerating out here is helping people. That's all I did. That's all I know. And to be treated this way coming home is really like a slap in the face. Because people in society, it's their children was coming to me. And
Mhm.
I look at a young man. I could tell that was his first time in prison. I could tell by the way he walked, the way he talked, the way he act. And if they felt around me or anywhere near me, I was protecting them. I thought I was gonna die doing that because a lot of people tell me, my friend, man, you're gonna get killed trying to protect these brothers. I'm like, man, it's my duty, you know, to protect these young men. And I started mentoring a lot of them. I used to pay guys to read books. I would give them like food and encourage them to read, and it was working. A lot of guys started getting mature, and then now I can set them up on their own. They can navigate the prison without having any problems. So the sacrifice so much and then come home and where you cannot be compensated, from all your hard work and sacrifices.
Mhm.
It's really hurt. It's really hurtful. But I believe in God. I believe in the power of the people. I believe in expressing myself for help, asking for help, and that's why I'm here. You know, to ask the world for support. And it's three things I would like to ask our supporters, my supporters from around the world to help me do is number one is to help me become stable. Like I don't have anything out here. It's because of the hardship of my past. When they lied on me and this incarcerated me, they set me back like hundreds of years. They really set me back. There's a lot of things that I lost. Like I cannot get life insurance because I have a criminal background, and I tried to get it. They discriminated against me. Homes discriminated against me. Rental properties, jobs, opportunities, and everywhere I turn. So I would like to accumulate, if I could, accumulate uh, some money to put before a lawyer and then attack my case and to get my intentions to get full exoneration.
And
And,
let's talk a bit about that because some people may say, "Well, you're out of prison. You've paid your debt. You're free. Why don't you just put that in the past?" What do you say to them?
you know, um, it'd be much easier if I came home and no one throw it in my face. My past is constantly in my face. everywhere I turn. That'll be much easier. I can easily put that in my past. But the fact that it's controlling me, and if I don't do anything about it, it's gonna control not only me but my children. Um, it control my family, and I need to survive out here. And then on top of that, I'm innocent. So imagine living every day knowing that you're innocent, and there's no one that you're trying to turn to to help you. No one want to help you, and it weighed on me. You
Yes.
know, you could see the story in the public. For example, we see the story about Lynn Davis. I'm looking at the story in a minute movie. I'm looking at the story in a book. I'm reading the story. I'm looking at documentaries. But it's like I'm a ghost. It's like people have just cut me out of the script, even though I'm one of the main characters of the script.
Wow.
And it's so disrespectful. I wrote to the author who wrote a book on behalf of Lynn Davis and about, all the ordeals and what happened, how he killed Miss Kim Grove. I never received a reply. I wrote to editors in New Orleans. It was promising. They kept promising me that, hey man, we're gonna do a story, but when they moved up to rank to their supervisor, it was declined. They say no, we cannot do it. So I've been in uh, different arenas with people and trying to reach out for help, different organizations and companies. Everyone closed the door on me. So I try to do it silently. I went to Kim Grove family. I try to do it where, hey, put this behind us. Let's tell the story and let us go. Let me go and move on with my life and just live. But I never had an opportunity to express myself until today. I never had an opportunity to say, "Hey, I need help," on this level to obtain attain finances to obtain a lawyer to help me to get push all this behind me. I never had an opportunity to do that. Like people was afraid to touch it, or people just ignore me. And I just got tired of that. You cannot live out here with that much weight on top of your soul, knowing
Yeah.
that you're innocent and knowing that justice, um, you never receive justice.
So we're doing the show. You have the GoFundMe,
No.
which we had the link up a minute ago. There it is, right there. And you want to use the money that's raised in the GoFundMe to hire a lawyer to expunge the case.
Yes, it's very important. I explained the case, the chains come off. There are chains that I still have on me because they're holding my case against me. They're holding the fact of the no contest plea. They're holding against me when I try to live my life. It's always coming up in my face. But I also would like to add is another request from the public. I think that we should go after the reinvestigation of Miss Kim Grove's death because new facts and circumstances have appeared with the evidence that I'm showing and I'm proving. That's very important. And the reason why I suggest that we open up this case because I know that the public have been lied to about the murder of Miss Kim Grove. I have a personal stance that I believe that she was not murdered only because she witnessed a police brutality. It's something that I would like to open in the future and talk about at some type of public forum. And I have facts to prove this. But I would like to add that what's so what's so what's so sinister and so diabolical about this case is the fact that the police officer alleged that I shot him in his right hand. All right. So when I went to trial, the DA asked the officer, the alleged victim, said, "Where were you shot?" And he raised his right hand up and he pointed to his hand. And I seen there was a scar on his hand. But the charge happened, the case happened in 1994, the last shooting of the police officer being shot in his hand. But this 1997, so we talking about almost 3 years later, and his hand was fully healed. I'll never forget this scene in court. But I remember when I went to court, I only had one sheet of paper in front of me. That was a police report. And when I got found guilty, I remember investigating my case. I noticed that there were thousands of pieces of paper that they withheld from me. So they violated my due process right. I was supposed to have received the ballistic report of the shooting. That was determined that the police officer did not shoot themselves by mistake, because the officer, Norbert, who was with Michael Mims, who got shot. Michael Mims, the alleged victim, got shot in the hand. He said he shot back 3 times at the suspect in the shootout. But the guns was not submitted into trial. There was no guns submitted by the officers in trial. And that was very, very important, to have the guns to prove that they did not shoot, the police officer did not shoot himself by mistake, or his partner did not shoot him by mistake. Number 2, the toxicology report was not rendered at my trial. That was important to prove that there was no gunshot residue around the victim hand, the wound, and also in his blood. All right. If it was a close gunshot wound, that means that he shot himself or his partner shot him. It was a distant gunshot wound. He said that he got shot 14 feet away. Well, that come up missing. The pictures of his hand, see, he got shot in his right hand, that come up missing. That all of this evidence was never submitted at trial, before trial, during trial, after trial. I'm still looking for this evidence. And the car that was used to transport the officer who got shot, the whole entire car come up missing before trial. The pictures of the car, interior of the car, come up missing. The clothes that the officer wore that he got shot in come up missing. Both officers. The doctor who allegedly did the surgery never testified. So I read thousands of cases on police shootings, officers being shot from around the world, and I've never seen where it was absence of this major of an absence of evidence proving that that officer got shot by a suspect. This is overwhelming. A lot of
That's just
evidence.
I was going to say. This is a lot to unpack.
Right.
And I can see how it's overwhelming. And I commend you for not giving up on the case and not giving up on yourself, because it's easy to say, I've seen people who have a whole lot more power than the both of us combined, who have thrown up their hands and say it's not worth it anymore. I don't want to keep doing this, but you continue to fight. So I commend you for that. What is one last thought that you would like to leave the audience? Maybe there's somebody who's watching who is going through a similar struggle of trying to maintain his or her innocence, who wants to put the past behind, but the past keeps getting thrown in their face. What is something that you can tell them to encourage them?
No matter what, you must believe in a higher power, that everything is going to be okay. No matter what hardships you face, at the end of the road, there's going to be sunshine. And that's how I live my life. I came through a lot of problems, a lot of major issues in my life with my family, myself, with the fact of my case. But I noticed that as long as I keep upbeat, good intentions and good actions, everything gonna play out. We cannot. God's not gonna allow us to carry something that we cannot handle. If you have it, if He gave it to you, you can handle it. You're special, and just keep that in front of your mind, that you will not be let down. And you have a powerful story. If God had gave you that type of platform, that hardship, and you're unique because He gave it to you. And never give up, no matter what, because there's always someone else around the world that's going through 10 times worse. and that's how I find hope, and determination within myself. I always think about other people, other cases that 10 times worse than mine, and there are a lot. And so that's how I live my life every day.
Well, Dwayne LeBlanc, thank you once again for talking
Yeah.
with me for this past hour. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank
Um, I wish you the best, not only in this fundraiser, but for just even taking your story to another level. I know you were considering writing a book one day.
you.
Hopefully, I would love to be able to support you in doing that.
Thank you.
But what I really want to see is that you achieve your goal in having your case expunged and that you can continue to live the life that you want to live.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right. So thank all of you for joining us tonight. I know I didn't open it up for questions like we normally do, but it was really more important for me to make sure that Mr. LeBlanc got the platform that he needed to be able to tell his story. If you have questions, if you would like to reach out to Dwayne, you can do so. Just you can message us, and I'll make sure that he gets the message. But if somebody would like to reach you directly, how can they reach you?
You can reach me by email. My email is B as in boy, E as in Earl, B as in boy, global9 at gmail.com.
Okay,
And
that's BEB Global
global number
9.
9 at
Mhm.
gmail.com.
All right, wonderful. Once again, thank you so much. I
Thank you.
wish you all the best, and keep your head up. Keep doing what you're doing because
I will.
you deserve for your story to be told.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. God
Thank
bless you.
you. All right, everybody. That's all we have for today. Thank you once again for supporting the show. Continue to share this show. Continue to. Oh, we got it. We got a donation. We got a donation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
But continue to share the show. If you are not watching this show live and you're watching it later, please comment and then do hashtag replay. Let us know what you thought. And help Dwayne tell his story. If you know somebody who's in a position to help him, share this video with them so that they can read this themselves. It's so important that people who have paid their debt to the society, in this case, Dwayne was innocent, but there are people who maybe they did it and maybe they have paid their debt and maybe they have changed their lives and they just want to live a normal life now. Let's help them to have that opportunity to do that. So that's all I have for tonight. I will see you guys on Monday where we have our regular episode of the Horizons Author Lounge. We'll be talking to two more authors and that will be the last show of the month because I told y'all I'm taking the time off for my birthday. I'm getting
Oh,
old. I want to celebrate.
yeah.
All right, y'all. Have a wonderful
All right.
evening. God
Thank you.
bless you.
God
Happy
bless y'all.
Juneteenth. Please get out there and celebrate. This show is all about freedom. So let's celebrate the freedoms that we have today because as we know that it can be fleeting. So
Thank you.
happy Juneteenth. God bless you.
Happy Juneteenth to you too. God bless you. Bye.